When we first opened our churches after the pandemic, we expected people to rush back to church and refill the pews in the same or greater numbers than when we shut down. But that hasn't happened. Many people are still reticent to pick up church going, leaving many leaders shaking their heads. I think there are three main reasons that are affecting our return to church. The first is we have re-entry anxiety. And this is a real thing. It's not made up. The pandemic has caused a lot of anxiety all around. And this is something that I personally have had to deal with. Our church has been open on a limited scale for the past year. And my wife, Faith, will tell you that I often have to work through my anxiety just to get out the door on the weekend. I remember the first day I went out after lockdown. I'd fabricated my kind of ghetto mask out of an old throw pillow cover and some rubber bands. We had to get food, so there was no choice. I felt like some kind of undercover agent that someone would discover and send me back, or worse, I would encounter someone who had the disease and bring it back to my family. The shape of this anxiety has changed over the course of the pandemic. At first, it was caused by the lurking fear of getting or spreading COVID. As we begin to open, though, some of that has changed. Sure, there's still that caution, but much of it has been mitigated by the cleaning and the protective measures that we've been taking. And with vaccinations now on board, the chances of getting ill are dropping. But there's still something there. It's more of a social anxiety. We've forgotten what it's like to actually socialize with others. We've forgotten how to interact, to shake hands, to hug, to carry on a simple conversation. And it's not just us introverts. As a society, we're experiencing re-entry anxiety, and we need to have grace and give space to those who need it. The second reason is that we have changed. Living through this pandemic has been one of the most defining moments in our lives. None of us are coming out the other end the same as we were 18 months ago. And most of us have faced some kind of existential crisis. Because of this, we've had to stop and reevaluate our values and priorities. And there are people who have realized that they were going to church out of obligation. Maybe they're going because of a husband, wife, mother, or other family member, and now they've realized that there's no life in going to that church for them personally. There are people who've discovered maybe they were in the wrong church. Maybe they've been going to a large church and long for the intimacy of a small or micro church. Maybe they feel that they identify with the energy or the anonymity of being a part of a large church. Maybe they feel that there's not much difference between what happens online and the live experience. And with the online experience, they can fit church into their schedule. And maybe they've discovered that their church no longer lines up with their personal values or beliefs. And another change, and this is a hard one for us as leaders, but some people have simply found something better to do. Many came to the understanding that their time was valuable. Before being forced to slow down, there was something happening every day. And as we open up, people are feeling like they need to be more intentional with their time. They're asking themselves if there's any value for them to come back to church. They've discovered that going to church wasn't as important to them as they thought. Perhaps they would rather spend time hiking in the mountains or working in the gardens or attending their children's sports game or just spending time as a family. And as far as they are concerned, there really is no reason to come back. When I was young, everything was closed on Sunday. No shops, no sports, no restaurants. It was a big deal when KFC opened on Sundays. There wasn't even anything good on TV. And really, there was nothing competing with our attention. So people went to church. Now, as everything is a battle for attention, the average person needs a compelling reason to step over the threshold of a church on Sunday morning. Even for Christians who believe in God, who've accepted God's grace, who know their salvation is assured, meeting together every Sunday morning is not a priority. Sporting events, camping, family activities have crowded out the idea of regular church attendance. With churches closed for weeks on end, these people have simply found something better to do. The third reason that people haven't been returning is that they have been languishing. This is an interesting concept. Have you found yourself staying up late at night, binge watching the same TV series, even when you know it by heart? Instead of bouncing out of bed in the morning, do you find yourself laying there scrolling endlessly through your phone? You kind of have this joyless, aimless feeling that is not depression, it's not burnout, but it's more of a feeling of stagnation and emptiness. And there's times when your head feels so groggy that you can't even get started. You're not alone. And this feeling has been labeled languishing. And for many, it is a key part of emerging out of the lockdown. A similar mental state has been observed in recently released prisoners. And this is not just laziness we can force our way out of. It will take time and a lot of tiny steps for people to work their way out. And we need to be patient with people as they emerge from the fog. Over the past 18 months, we have seen a change in our culture and a change that will have to happen in the way we do church. Our great worship and messages will draw some of the faithful back, but many people need a good reason to come back. I feel that churches that are going to break through the post-pandemic slump will focus on two areas. The first area is in building intentional community. True Christianity can only thrive in the presence of community. One of the main reasons that people come to church is because they have that relational connection. Churches that survive and thrive during this season will focus on building intentional community. Secondly, our meetings need to focus on experience with God rather than just knowledge about God. Without having a sense of the divine, that connection with God, there's no difference to our service than watching a mini concert with a TED Talk tacked on to the end. The church that stands out needs to be a place where people experience something that is beyond what is natural. They need to see God tangibly at work. And this is not easy. And in some ways, we will need to embrace unpredictability. As C.S. Lewis once wrote, he's not a tame lion. I think we need to take heart as we emerge from this season. Things may not look exactly like we expect, but nothing catches God off guard. And I believe that God is moving us back to embracing the basic things that caused the early church to move forward. Well, that's all for me today. Until next time, keep looking upwards, keep moving onwards, and I will see you in the next video.